Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Watch me dance the night away. My heart could be burning, but you won't see it on my face. Watch me dance the night away. I'll still keep the party.
Please join me in welcoming today's opening keynote speakers, Robbie Brenner, President of Mattel Films, and Steve Totzke, President and Chief Commercial Officer of Mattel. They will be interviewed by Shoptalk Senior Vice President of Content, Christina Gustafson.
Welcome to the Shoptalk stage. Steve and Robbie, probably not as glamorous as a red carpet, but I hope we have some theatrics up to Mattel's caliber. How are you guys doing today?
Good. It's so great to be here.
Great to be back in Vegas. The morning slot after St. Patrick's Day is always good.
Yeah, we've probably got a few hangovers out there, but we'll try to bring the energy. I won't make another Kenergy joke because we can only have so many of those in a 20-minute segment. But Steve, I want to start today's conversation with you because Mattel has completely transformed as a company over the past 5 years. You guys are no longer just a toy manufacturer, but you have digital gaming, you have print publishing, you have music, you have live experiences, television studios, and of course, as Robbie's going to tell us in a little bit, you have Mattel Films, in case anyone here was unaware of that fact. So talk to me a little bit about who Mattel is today. Are you a toy company or are you an entertainment company?
Well, first of all, thank you for following. It definitely has been a busy and exciting 5 years, and a bit of both. We are a IP-driven, high-performing toy company, and we unlock the value of our IP by expanding our entertainment offering. So just a second on toys. A storied toy company. The #1 toy company in the US for 30 consecutive years. Think about that. Not many companies remain on top for 30 consecutive years. Last year was the largest share gain we've had in our history. We gained share in every region in the world, we gained share in the US, and we extended our lead in Barbie's the #1 fashion doll in the world. Hot Wheels is the #1 vehicle brand. Fisher-Price is the #1 infant toddler preschool brand. And the Hot Wheels single is the #1 toy in the world. So pretty good from a toy perspective. But entertainment, we had just as an exciting of a year. We actually won an Emmy for Monster High, the movie, with Nickelodeon. We were nominated for 11 Grammy Awards with the Barbie movie soundtrack, winning 3. And of course, last weekend at the Oscars, nominated for 8 and won the Oscar for the best song. But not just movies, hundreds of millions of digital downloads of our games. On TV, in the last 2 weeks, we launched Hot Wheels Let's Race and Barbie and Stacy Adventure, both landing in the top 10 in their premiere weeks. And then finally, live entertainment. Thomas and Friends, Hot Wheels Monster Trucks, and of course, Barbie. All over the world now, you can have a live event. So we're a bit of everything and momentum across the board.
Yeah, well, when you describe it like that, it sounds very easy. I mean, you must just be going off, relaxing on the beach somewhere, hanging out, everything's just running smoothly. But we all know it's very, very hard work. And we've actually seen some competitors in your space try to go on a similar route and kind of retrench to make sure that they stayed focused on the core business. So how are you guys making sure you don't follow that path and are really kind of prioritizing the right things?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, our values. Our values are innovation, collaboration, and execution, and they're really important. And I give our CEO, Nan Kreis, a lot of credit. When he came in 5 years ago, he really focused on making sure that there was expertise at every vertical. And this is something that was new in our past and something I don't always see in our competitors. So if you look at digital gaming, it is all digital gaming expertise. They've never really created a physical toy. They're digital gaming people. Same with television, same with consumer products. For example, we just hired Josh Silverman, who spent 20 years at Disney, And then, of course, in our film division, we had to get a multi-Oscar nominated executive like Robbie to run our film division.
I was going to say, you teed that up so beautifully, so I really appreciate that. Because Robbie, you are coming to Mattel Films with a very different background. I don't know how many of you out there have read up on Robbie, but definitely not kind of the commercial type of person you would expect to take this role. She was actually an Academy Award nominated producer with a background in indie films. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your transition stepping into a role where you got guys like Steve pushing a commercial agenda.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly a little bit of a culture shock at the beginning. You know, coming into a publicly traded toy company was something that I had never done before. So learning about SKUs and learning about all the meetings to the meeting was something that I had never really done before. But it's been fun. But, you know, for me, story is story. So whether it's a small independent movie, like something that I made like Dallas Buyers Club or The Fighter, very similar to Barbie in the sense that it's just about story first. It's working with singular, authentic, bold voices. And I think that that's something that we're really focused on at Mattel is just telling great stories. It's not about selling toys. I mean, certainly we want to do that, but I'm approaching it from the story perspective of creating something that feels sticky and interesting and feels like an original experience. But it's been really fun. I've had a great time just being able to play in the sandbox of all these amazing toys that I grew up with.
And I know you've mentioned before that your CEO mentioned it was okay if you guys didn't sell a single additional Barbie doll after the movie. Do you feel like they kind of let you just kind of have your free reign? You're not feeling that big brother looking down on you as you're producing these films?
No, look, I think the Barbie movie was a complete unicorn. I think, this was the first movie that we made and we really kind of knocked it out of the park. And now I think there's proof of concept on the film side. But, we're really approaching all of these movies kind of individually and looking at each one and saying, what is the best way to unlock what the best version of this movie can be. So whether it's attaching a director or in some cases we do a writer's room, and in some cases we'll collaborate directly with a studio. So every different brand has its own sort of approach and experience. But again, yes, it's great to sell toys and to create things like the Knuff sweatshirt that went viral from the movie, but we're really just about story first. And when you stick with story first, I think all of the great stuff follows.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you bring that up because I know you guys have recently released some of these statistics from the revenue growth that you guys experienced, and I want to stick with your consumer products thread here in the I Am Knuff sweatshirt, which we'll get into in a couple of minutes. But Steve, you guys recently said the film generated $150 million in revenue for you guys across toys and other revenue streams, including a whopping 165 consumer products partnerships. That number is just mind-blowing. Talk to me about how you actually made that work, because again, I would imagine you're having to retool a lot of parts of the business, have a lot of meetings in order to make this come to life seamlessly.
Yeah, well, it's 165 unique partnerships. Barbie has always been a great, I would say, attractor of talent. We collaborate with fashion designers and entertainers, but this was definitely next level. Mm-hmm. And it was everything from retailers that we haven't maybe participated with before to you're seeing some of these new partners scroll across the screen. There really was an intense focus with our CP team. Mm. I will say there was a weekly meeting that we would attend to make sure that everybody was, marching along the path, not just internally with ourselves, with our partners at Warner Brothers. So it really was an incredible focus and so rewarding when the payoff happened.
And was there any big change? Because I know you had mentioned when we've chatted before that, this wasn't completely new to Mattel. You guys had done some of these types of partnerships before in the past, obviously not to this scale. Did it require hiring new team members? Like anything behind the scenes that you had to do differently to connect the content and commerce in a way you hadn't before?
There were definitely some new team members like I talked about. We've definitely upped our game in terms of our expertise and our focus. It's just been a phenomenal journey. We are attracting a lot of talent to Mattel, and this definitely was a helper for that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Robbie, I want to go back to the I Am Knuff sweatshirt. Fun fact for everyone in the audience, my brother's name is Ken, so it's been a really fun.
Have to get you one.
It's been a really fun year. Well, so that was the argument that I was having with his wife ahead of Christmas, was who actually got to purchase that for him. She, of course, won. The wife always wins. But it just kind of makes me think. There were certain IP moments in the movie that absolutely had to be there. She has to live in a dream house. She has to drive her cute, pink convertible. But then there were also a lot of opportunities like the I Am Knuff sweatshirt, like the rollerblades, that that really kind of created their own new cultural moments for Steve and his team. As you were seeing the movie come to life, were you aware of the gold that you were giving to him?
Well, it was pretty amazing from just the onset of like screening the movie. You have these research screenings to test the movie. I would go to, Paramus, New Jersey or wherever it was to see the movie. And all of a sudden you would see people wrapped around for a mile wearing pink to come see this test
Which you
screening
guys
of
are not
Barbie.
wearing. I just want to call that out right now. Neither of us are wearing pink.
So, I think we sort of knew that this was catching on and becoming sort of like a cultural, phenomenon and conversation. But it was amazing to see at Halloween just all the costumes of, everybody wearing the rollerblades and the knee pads and the visors and the unitards and all the cowboy outfits. So it's been really, really fun. I think everybody needs a little Barbie in the world. I think it's just such a happy movie, and it has so much to say on top of it being sort of commercial. It's the perfect intersection of art and commerce.
Yeah. And Steve, how much lead time did you have to kind of create those moments? Were you watching early versions? Like, were you making early bets, or did you kind of wait, as Robbie was mentioning, to see how the crowd was reacting and then use some fast supply chain capabilities to produce those?
Yeah, some more than others. Look, our design and development team were working with the filmmakers, so we had an idea along the way from a toy perspective and an adult collector perspective, what was going to be kind of featured in our product line. But things like the sweatshirt, it was a cultural phenomenon inside a cultural phenomenon. It is sold on our Mattel Creations D2C platform, and it just became in the zeitgeist. And on that product, we didn't have a lot of lead time. We put it up, and it became the #1 selling item ever on Mattel Creations. So that one took us by surprise in the best possible way.
I love that. Well, Steve, my colleague Joe and I were having a conversation a couple of months ago. We were reflecting on 2023 and trying to decide who the brand of the year was. And it was interesting because in his mind it was Barbie, but in my mind it was Mattel. So I'd be really curious to get your perspective on how important it is to you that folks know the Mattel brand, or is it important enough that they know Barbie, they know Hot Wheels, they know American Girl?
Well, look, at 30 years ago, Mattel, if you're of a certain age, you'll remember if it's Mattel, it's swell. And we did make a focus on Mattel. But over the last, 25 years or so, we've really focused on building up our brands as a house of brands. But if you saw this movie, Mattel is back in the zeitgeist like never before. We joke internally that there were 3 stars of the movie. There was Barbie, there was Ken, and there was Mattel. Mattel was like a character in the movie. And we know how to celebrate and eventize an anniversary. And next year is Mattel's 80th anniversary. So I think you can expect big things from Mattel as we move forward here.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see how that manifests itself. Well, getting back to some of the individual properties, Robbie, you guys have announced that you have 15 films in development, so you're also hanging out on the beach, nothing going on in your world. You have American Girl, you have Polly Pocket under development, also Magic 8 Ball and Uno, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think those are 4 of the 15. As someone who grew up with Polly Pocket and American Girl, very easy for me to envision a really rich character story like we saw with Barbie, but I don't know if I'm sold on Magic 8 Ball and Uno just yet. So talk to me a little bit about how you prioritize projects and how you know when the script or the approach is right.
When I came to Mattel 5.5 years ago, I sort of combed through just the hundreds of brands that we had, and I sort of distilled the list down to the 45 that I thought could be like a true theatrical experience. And then, it's interesting because with American Girl and with Barbie and Polly Pocket, I mean, you're starting from a character, so you have somewhere to go from, right? But with Uno and 8 Ball, there is no character. So you're sort of saying, like, what is that movie? So in the case of 8 Ball, you sort of say, like, well, what could that be? It feels like a genre movie. It feels like a scary movie or a sort of monkey's paw or, choose your own sort of destiny. And we sort of approach it that way. I sit around with my team and we ideate. A lot of times we do these writers' rooms. We bring in a bunch of really great writers and we spend 2 days sort of talking about what is this? What could it be? What's the movie? What does it feel like? What's the tone of it? And by the end of 2 days, we have a pretty good idea. So it's a really fun way to work.
That's really impressive that you can deduce all of that in 2 days. And out of those 15 that are on the slate, are there any that you're especially excited about?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, Major Matt Mason, we're doing with Tom Hanks. He goes to the moon. Who doesn't want to see Tom Hanks go to the moon? We have Wishbone, set up at Universal with, everybody loves a movie with a dog in it. And, certainly we're very excited about Polly Pocket with Lena Dunham and Lily Collins and American Girl. I'm really excited about all of them, really.
Yeah. Well, it is Shoptalk, so of course I have to ask you a question about AI. We're going to be talking about that a lot over the next couple of days, but it is actually quite a relevant question for you because generative AI was really at the heart of the Hollywood strikes that we saw last year. So give us your hot take on the role of generative AI in the creative process.
I mean, look, I think it's definitely scary for everybody. I think the idea that robots can come in and sort of take over and do your jobs, I think, there's a lot of talk about it. I think people are very worried, but I mean, ultimately, I think people want a human experience. They want to know that they're going to movies to see actors that are real, that have emotions, that are real people. So I really don't ultimately think that it's going to completely disrupt the business. I think it will be very useful in certain ways, but I do believe that people, want to, relate to people that exist, that have feelings and emotions and ideas, and so I think I don't think it's going to completely take over.
And those ways that you think it could be useful, is it more just kind of ideation, the brainstorming phase you were talking about, or where do you kind of see it adding value?
I don't think it's necessarily in the creative, like coming up with, ideas for movies, because it feels like ultimately that would probably be pretty generic, but I think it's in like breaking down scripts or maybe doing budgets or things that are a little bit more menial and less creative.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, we are quickly running out of time here. So Steve, back to you. Demand creation is a big part of your job, and we've already talked about a couple of ways that you are reimagining that. Talk to me a little bit about what else is on the roadmap for you there, and maybe even kind of what unique opportunities all these different platforms provide to you.
Sure. Well, the evolution of demand creation, we moved it up in our strategic framework this year. It's always been there. As a matter of fact, it's part of Mattel's DNA. Our founders, Ruth and Elliot Handler, in 1955, they partnered with Walt Disney to sponsor the Mickey Mouse show. And it was a weekly sponsorship. At the time, toy companies really didn't advertise on TV. It was unproven. So we like to think we're kind of pioneers in this space. And it's getting more complex to create demand. So we need to continue to stay ahead of the curve. And we are. On social media, for example, we have the #1 girls brand on YouTube with Barbie. Hot Wheels is the #1 toy vehicle brand on YouTube and across all platforms, whether it is TikTok or Instagram. If you're not following Barbie Style on Instagram, 2.5 million followers, good style tips. And then finally, I mentioned Mattel Creations, and we're giving a keynote on Mattel Creations later at Shoptalk. Alexis Hoops, who runs it, is in the audience today. It is such a cool factor for reaching our fans and our adult collectors. We have Mattel Creations Reveal Thursday and Friday. Tune in. But really, the evolution of demand creation is critical to what we do at Mattel.
That's great. Well, before we wrap, I want to know how far this is going to go. Are we going to see cruise ships? Are we going to see theme parks? Is it just going to be a proper Mattel universe taking over all of our worlds?
Well, look, at accelerating our entertainment side of the business is really critical to what we do. If 5 years ago you wouldn't start the way you started today in terms of the #1 movie in Warner Brothers history being a Barbie movie, with having hundreds of millions of digital downloads. We do have a Mattel Adventure Park opening later this year, and later this week we're going to be announcing our second Mattel Adventure Park. Ooh. So I'm not sure we're going to get all the way there, but I can tell you with 100% certainty that the best is ahead for Mattel. We are celebrating our 80th year next year, and Mattel is just getting started.
No, that's fantastic. And where is the Adventure Park? I'll ask about the first one, not the second one. I won't upset your comps.
It's in Arizona, first one.
Awesome.
Second one, I can tell you backstage. Big secret. Announces Wednesday.
Great. Well, thank you guys both so much for joining us, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.